Welcome everyone to the morning session for the Blueprint for Peace for Humanity. It's day 12 of this series, Wednesday, July 19th, 2017. And this is a production of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. And we don't have Mr. Keshe with us right now. We may or may not have him available for this broadcast. And we'll continue with our discussion of the progress that we're making towards the goal of getting world leaders to sign the World Peace Treaty, primarily, and the process involved in arriving at that. So let's just see how things pan out today. I'm wondering if we can get maybe some direction from Caroline. Do you have something you'd like to say to start off today?
Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening. To estimate where everybody is, maybe it's wake-up time, maybe it's needing of a cup of tea to start the day. Some people will say, oh my God, I wish I could go to sleep this time. To all of you, welcome. It is a beautiful day today. I bring the regards of Mr. Keshe and the wish that he will be present today. He will be among us, not physically, but his soul will be present. And he asked me to inform all of you about this message. Because today we will create a path through the soul to make the path easier in physicality. And we're going to have to start realizing that there is such a tight connection between the two and that they are not separate. It's just like a slight delay in what you receive first through your soul, on your soul level. Now we have been able, through the teachings and the information of Mr. Keshe, to position our soul. We know the position. So now we are finding very slowly also the path of the connection, how to connect, how to make this easier. One goes through meditation, somebody else goes through a different path, breathing techniques. A lot of people are already very accustomed with this, but they called it all different kind of names and positions. As I tried to bring it forward in the last time with Mr. Keshe about the pineal gland, nobody could pinpoint where it is or what it was. They knew there was something. They were connected. Now the beauty is that we finally know where our position is in our physicality with ourselves. I heard people, it's like a cry, please, can you support us more? Can you give us more insight? The feeling of getting lost, not knowing exactly what path to walk. Just trust yourself that you are beautiful. You carry everything you need. And there is no difference between one or another. It's only a level of the amount of energy which is at this moment at your disposition. And as you are creators and you are walking with your own soul as your best body, as your best partner, you can build up and you can generate and create whatever you need. So the letter has gone out. We have created a shockwave of emotions. Everyone who has touched this letter has felt how this feels and how this creates and how this is moving with your wish, which is so important. As I tried to highlight yesterday, when we are reacting to the picture of Naomi or to any other situation, our heart jumps. It wants to give. And I think this will be a nice platform, Rick, to start today's teaching. I hope we will all enjoy this beautiful day today. Thank you.
Can I jump in and add something? This is John from Arizona. And I watched last night's or yesterday's teaching, the afternoon session, and I saw the dynamic reactors that were shown. And I want to share with everybody, I'm going to back up a little bit in that what has been released by Mr. Keshe is, in my mind, the keys to the kingdom. And a lot of people missed it. If you go back to the 10th in the PM session, in essence told us everything that we need to do to control everything that we wish to control. When I say control, maybe it's the wrong word, but to change everything that we wish to change. Everything is in our hands right now. The dynamic reactors are for those that need the dynamic reactors to move things forward. But eventually, I think most people will need these type of dynamic reactors because these dynamic reactors can actually elevate the soul of not one person, but many people. Not only can they elevate the soul, but they also can do so much more. And he's opened up how with the hydrogen Gans, we've opened up into the creator energies. These creator energies are beyond most people's understanding, and we know how to do it. Some people will have to experiment with it a little bit, but if we take the 3 ball reactors in these dynamic cores that we have on our website, and I'm not pushing them from a standpoint of trying to sell them, because it's really up to you whether it's something that you want to experiment with. But for those that want to experiment, it's beyond experimenting. It's really about bringing about everything that you have been striving for all this time. So if you take the 3 reactors, or the starship formation, and you put in the center core, you put the hydrogen Gans. In the middle core, we're experimenting with both ways. Either we leave the middle core open and we allow the deuterium to come into the middle core and try to create what they call a free plasma, or we're doing a second one where we're actually filling it with the deuterium. So we'll put the deuterium in the center one, and we'll put the tritium in the third one. Now, everybody's been told, if you go back to, I think it's the 177th workshop, Mr. Keshe opened up the door in how to produce each one of those 3 types of Gans. And for those that wish to make a change, those Gans are the key to everything. They're the key to flying craft. They're the key to flying cars. They're the key to elevating the soul. They're the key for creation energies. Everything that we've been working towards is keyed with the hydrogen Gans. And if we can move towards that and away from the 4 Ganses that we've been relying on all this time, things will move fast forward very quickly. So if you take, now he's mentioned this concept of the mass ratio between the loading of the reactors. I want to share with you what my thinking and how I view it, and others view it. When we talked about it in the private teachings, Some people view it a little bit different, but I'm going to share with you how we do it. I think Dr. Rodrigo does it very similar when he loads his reactors. If we had two reactors, two stationary reactors, we would load one of them with 2 parts, for example, with 2 parts in the inner ball and 1 part in the outer ball. And then the other reactor, we'd load just the opposite, 1 part and 2 parts. So what we're doing is we're creating that infinity loop. From the weaker you go to the stronger field. So what we do when we do a mass ratio between the reactors is we'll put 1 part of, for example, hydrogen in the middle, and we'll put, let's say, 3 parts of tritium on the outside. And what we've done is we've created, and the rest we would fill all with water, with liquid plasma of the water. So what we've done is we've created a gradient of the field where the field interactions from the center, the gravitational fields from the center are pulled out to the outside. So
excuse me, John, do you think it would be possible to do a whiteboard on that and do a little drawing of the ratios and that sort of thing?
I'm not real great on whiteboard, but let me try.
It's just much easier to relate to the ideas.
How's that?
Yep, we see that.
Okay, let me see if I can. All right, so let's just see here. Okay.
Perfect, thank you.
I'm a really bad drawer, but I can't be as bad as Mr. Keshe, so.
We're all bad on the mouse trying to do it on this whiteboard, I think, but you're doing good, thank you.
It's not about the drawing, it's about the understanding. And I know we're talking about peace, but what these, so what happens when one person gets elevated, or they're able to elevate their soul, and they can do it with these reactors, is it's a snowball effect. And that's what we're really trying to create, is that snowball effect where we can take the fast track elevating our souls. Okay, so, and I'm going to draw down here, let's just say that this is what I call the top reactor. Okay, so if this was hydrogen, and it's the same thing in all the centers. And I'm not saying necessarily that I have all the answers, but maybe my level of understanding can elevate other people's level of understanding to where if I don't have the answer, the missing pieces can be brought in, okay?
Okay, to clarify first, when you say hydrogen, do you mean hydrogen gas or the plasma strength level of hydrogen?
Plasma of hydrogen, okay? Okay, and then let's say on our first test that we leave the deuterium as an empty ball and we create the deuterium. So we know that the hydrogen is a gravity field and that the tritium is a magnetic field. So if we put, for example, and what we want to do is we need to have a flow between these reactors, a weaker to a stronger. And we also know that we need, this is a top reactor now, we need to have a flow, in this case, going both directions. At one point it needs to be weaker, and at another point it needs to be stronger. Okay, so if we said, for example, that we put 1 milliliter of hydrogen in each of these cores, the plasma of hydrogen, if we put 1 milliliter in each of the cores, each of these bottom cores, and we said, in this one we're going to put 3 milliliters. I'm really not too good with a mouse. 6 milliliters and 9 milliliters. Of tritium. So what we've done is that, well, now I got my flow going the wrong direction, but let's just say, okay, no, I don't. This bigger field will feed the smaller field, and this bigger field will feed this smaller field, and this smaller field will actually pull from this field. So in my thinking, if we left this deuterium, what will happen when we spin these cores, we have H3 and we have H. So what will be created in the center, even if we don't put deuterium in there, in my mind, will create deuterium as these fields flow from here to here. And as we do that, this will radiate out these fields in all directions. Now, how do we get on this one from being a stronger to a weaker? If we put, in these we put 1 milliliter each of hydrogen here. If we started with here, we put 2 milliliters of hydrogen and the rest water. And here we put, so we start off as the weaker and we go to the stronger. So we need, we would need to have like 1 milliliter of tritium.
John, so can you bring in the idea of peace into this? Because we're getting some people that are wondering where we're going with this. We need to bring in the idea of this workshop, which is about peace. I'm sure you're sort of getting to that, but we need to get away from the Gans is the idea.
Yes, I understand. Well, apparently whoever's asking the question didn't hear the first part of the conversation. Because what I mentioned was that these reactors are all about peace. They're all about changing the dynamics for the entire planet of this Earth. What you're going to get when you do this correctly, whether it's me that does it correctly or somebody else that does it correctly, is you're going to get the ability to elevate souls. You're going to create a plasma field here in the center, a consciousness field that will allow for the elevation of souls. It will allow for huge amounts of energies to be generated beyond your imagination, enough energy to feed a whole city. It allows for creation energies to be developed, in that you will be able to create anything that it is that you wish to have. And you can go back and listen to Mr. Keshe's explanation in the 10th workshop PM, where he talks about just this very thing. And it won't take many of these reactors, however you want to set them up. This is the way the ones that we're testing right now, this is the way we're setting ours up. if you take these reactors and take this problem into your own hands, for all those that are asking those types of questions, you have the ability within yourselves to make the very changes that you're looking to make on a bigger level. So that's how you get back to this discussion of peace. Because as one person starts to show this, and then two people start to show this, and they experience energy fields that are beyond our understandings, that can generate enough energy for a whole field, for a whole city, then they'll start to understand that the old paradigm is no longer viable. So let's say instead of 3 milliliters of tritium, which is radiating out huge amounts of energy, I put 6, 9, and 12 milliliters. We exponentially amplify the energies of what it is that we're doing. So this is my understanding of how we can make, we as a Keshe Foundation, as all the knowledge seekers, can make a big impact on changing the paradigm. And it all starts with us. It's not about somebody else doing it for us. We have to be, it has to be our desire to bring about these changes, and we need to take the steps forward to test our abilities to bring the knowledge forward. A lot of people, and it kind of frustrates me at times, a lot of people will watch a lot of videos, but won't take the steps to actually try some of the stuff. They're listening, waiting for somebody else to show, here's the solution, let me have it and go with it. It's really up to us to bring this forward. And he's told us how to do it, and now we simply need to do it. You don't necessarily need to copy my understanding word for word, but conceptually, if you understand what these dynamic reactors can do for you, and how if you work with these hydrogen, deuterium, and tritium Ganses, the ball game changes. Now, what you can also do, just do a simple test if you want. 2 reactors. And let's do the 3 core reactors again. With the hydrogen, deuterium, and tritium. 2 reactors. Very simple. Build your own. Purchase them from the website. Do them with ping pong ball. It doesn't matter. So maybe 1 part here, and let's say 3 parts here, and put 3 parts here, and 1 part here. So what you're doing is you're creating this infinity loop. Oops. You're creating this infinity loop, and then right here in the center is where you get the creation energies. When I say creation energies, if you, depending on what you put next to it here, maybe you put another reactor here, that's maybe a stationary reactor, and maybe it has, silver in here. And you have to work with it and experience it. And once you start working with it and experience it and can show results and can come back to the teaching and teach everybody else your results, then we move forward. Any questions?
What kind of results do you expect?
So one of the things that we're doing in Arizona, we're trying a bunch of new tests based on the new understanding. But we've worked with so far the tritium, the deuterium, and the hydrogen Gans. And what we found that when you put your energies into its energies is you move into a different field, if you will. For me, when I moved into the energy fields, when I put my hands close to it, immediately my hands started to sweat, and I could feel that there was an energy balancing within my body going on. And I stayed with it for a little while, and as soon as I pulled away, I got the information or the sense, a very strong sense, kind of almost like it was talking to me, that the fields could be as strong as I wanted them to be. This is something that, you know, we have to kind of, each person has to experience it himself, because when I talk in this kind of language of, communicating with the fields, it's like you have to do it yourself, or my knowledge, what I get out of it is not going to be the same experience that you'll get out of it. We did some other tests where we actually put our consciousness in the center of it, and it was a very interesting experience. It's my opinion that with these hydrogen Ganses, you're going to find, like Mr. Keshe says, the energy field that we have here, you're going to be able to walk into these fields with, cancers and walk out healed. Now that's a big deal. I mean, that's a huge deal. And he told us that much, and he told us exactly how to do it in the 10th workshop PM. And yet, when I heard the other day, nobody's really talking about it, nobody's excited about it.
Well, John,
yes.
how do we reconcile?
I can jump in real quick.
Excuse me. How do we reconcile the idea of that we're not to make Gans and consider the Gans and material and physicality stuff so much during this month period until August 2nd or 3rd, let's say? How do you reconcile that with getting into making Ganses and rotating reactors and all the physical stuff again?
So he doesn't want to take away from the peace process. The peace process is done with the soul. We're eventually going to find out, this is like a tool. These reactors are a tool. Until we can get past working with the reactors, until we have the first wave of people elevating their souls, these tools will still be a necessary part, because we have to bring all humanity under the umbrella. Mr. Keshe was talking about these very things, if you recall, on the 10th workshop. He understood how he was changing the dynamics of our entire humanity when he released this information. He was very cautious in releasing it, and it's now out there. So yeah, I think it maybe is part, it's the time for us to not quit working on the peace activity, not quit putting our soul in a positive place, but also to embrace what we have as new knowledge and not be afraid to understand that our souls are here for a purpose, and part of that purpose is to move this engine forward, if you will. Everybody started following this technology, because we knew in listening to the words that this was how we were going to break free for everybody. And I think now we have the information to truly break free. Remember when he told us how this thing could actually also create a shielding, the 3 to 1, 1 to 3? So, you know, I would say, you know, when I got the information, I couldn't wait to get into work the next day and try all the new combinations. We're fortunate in that we have a lot of the tools available to us to do a lot of the testing. But this is key information that was released, and you know, I hope that people are taking it to heart and understanding what it is that's available to them. Because if they're just waiting for Mr. Keshe to do it, or Armin to do it, or me to do it, you know, we move forward very slowly. If everybody can kind of understand what's on the table, look at possibly, you know, to whatever the degree of their understanding is, you know, start working with these things. Is there still some misunderstanding on this? Do people understand how to make the Ganses? Maybe I can talk. There
was a question from Patrick from Germany. He says, how can we make the hydrogen Gans? He says, tritium is no problem for me, but the hydrogen. So
okay.
how do we make the hydrogen Gans, the basic hydrogen Gans, let's say, the one that you show in the center of the reactor?
Okay, so let me erase all this.
So maybe we're looking at putting together a blueprint that puts all this and consolidates it in a document that brings it all together. One of the questions I think I'm hearing, Don, here is, okay, now we have these reactors. We can use them for anything. How do we use them then to maintain and create the peace that we are looking for? What does it look like? Us in the environment, in a room, meditating, or bringing that about? Because the second and third is really close, and most of us are not going to have time or going to be producing these reactors between now and then. So we're just setting a foundation for the work to continue after we reach this time of the 2nd and 3rd of August and have completed it, because there is action on the other side of that. And I think that's what some of the questions are, is how do you see it?
So let me put it into perspective. Let me put it into perspective. What I'm putting forward now with the reactors and what Mr. Keshe shared the other day can go on concurrently for those that are moving in that direction. The peace will be brought about in the method that Mr. Keshe and Caroline and everybody else has been talking about, by sending these letters out to let humanity know that things are going to be changing, and to get them prepared so that when these things start to show up and humanity starts to change, that they will be aware. And like Caroline said the other day, the peace process is going to move forward as a result of our collective soul's energies that we're putting forth, each one of us, each and every day in our own way. It doesn't stop this bigger understanding that's been placed in front of us and it's not an either or. Well, maybe for some people it's an either or. I don't know. For me, it's
the either or contingent is coming up in the live stream, for example, and Trevor says we need to decide how we are going to get the desired results for peace. Either we do it with external material devices we create, or understand what Mr. Keshe has been saying, that we are the reactors, and so on.
Yeah.
But I think that the double-pronged approach is proper.
I'll stop if people feel that this discussion is not worthwhile.
Pardon me, could you say that again?
I'll stop if people don't feel this discussion is worthwhile. I'm not trying to distract from the piece.
No,
I'm trying to bring it forward.
Yes, absolutely. I'm totally with you on that, and I know that's where your heart is. I'm just saying that we do have the ones that take either we do it by ourselves or we do it with the devices, but it's part of our schizophrenia, as Mr. Keshe has mentioned before, that we alternate between one way and the other, because that's part of our human condition here.
Yeah.
If we went totally toward soul and totally toward that plasma viewpoint, then many of our physicality things would dissolve away. They wouldn't become important to us. We may not care about a lot of the things that maybe we ought to if we want to have more longevity on this planet, say. So, it's a dicey thing. It's a matter of how far do you want to go? How far are you willing to go, I guess. And Mr. Keshe keeps encouraging us to go virtually all the way, let's say, with as little as possible of the physicality things involved. But inevitably, because of our humanness, we tend to bring physicality things into it. And we can help others with these physicality things because of the fields that are created that are not of the physicality, can help to elevate the people of the planet and so on, or the whole planet itself, perhaps. So yeah, it's a bit of a dichotomy there. It's a bit of a challenge to accept both worlds, or it's like we have there's a saying, a foot on either stool. So we're standing on two stools, and it's a difficult position to be. It's like sitting on the top of a fence. You're liable to fall one way or the other. And
so right now, I would say that most people would have a difficult time elevating back, which is the soul. But there's also the tools that can help elevate. Not only, we're in this for all of humanity and service. We're not talking about just one soul. We're talking about many souls, elevating their souls to a higher level. How do we do that? This is the tool that Mr. Keshe gave us. And I thought it would be wise to share it. I can talk about it, or we can talk about, writing a letter. The choice is yours.
Oh, one of those duality choices again. Can we do both?
No. Can I? Good morning, good afternoon. Why would there be duality? Because you have the power within you to elevate each one around you. Even beyond your reach, you will elevate. Because automatically, because we are all coming from one source, we all reconnect to one source. So how many people have touched the letter and sent it out? Maybe 1,000 people, 2,000, 3,000. It will start showing very soon how many people have touched the letter and read the letter. So now you start counting as we know the numbers, if we want to go by numbers, how many people do we guess have touched this letter within the last few hours? Because it appeared at 12 o'clock in certain countries, 6 o'clock in other countries, 8 o'clock, whatever time frame it appeared, when people woke up, they have noticed it. They have sent, thank you, thank you, thank you, thumbs up. So the confirmation is that they have received it. They are translating so fast. It's amazing. Now, if we don't go by numbers, but we're going by the strength of the fields of the intent, I think you will have a huge cover all over this planet. Because it's your fields which are reaching and touching every single soul which you will bring up. So you're going to have to recalculate this feeling in numbers. I tried to explain it yesterday afternoon with the image of Naomi. Everybody knows, or a lot of you know, when a child is hurt and harmed, you will do anything, you will move anything. I've seen it with Giovanni. You will do everything. You will sacrifice everything which is within you to get this child moving again, to get it where you knew where it was from the point where it changed. Now, every time I posted and I reminded so many knowledge seekers at this specific point, the energy got created, multiplied, and sent out, and Naomi moved. She moved beyond. Now, use or analyze or try to analyze the same implementation with the fields of your soul, with the plasma fields you are creating just with your wishes. How are you going to measure that? And if you don't want to measure, just go by sending it out. It doesn't cost nobody, no effort. The ones which are touched will create and expand these fields beyond. And as John was trying to bring into this teaching, thank you, John, and he was very fast to jump in, is he's showing you the path through the support of the knowledge which has been brought to the Keshe Foundation. How to now to implement what you have learned and already been creating to connect these fields and magnify them. So I don't think we should hesitate on any foot, because the ones we choose will top over the ones which don't even know we exist. Can you add to this, please?
Right. There's certain quantities of aluminum and sodium hydroxide and to make the hydrogen.
What's that, Mark?
The amounts of the three constituents, and I have it someplace, I can't put my hand on it, to make the hydrogen GANs is based on putting some aluminum with some sodium hydroxide in the correct proportions with some water or GANs into a spinning ball such that they're not mixed until you start spinning the ball. And then when you spin the ball, the water mixes with the sodium hydroxide and the aluminum to create the quantity of pure hydrogen GANs in the ball such that there's no residue left over. It's calculated by number of moles, but we have someplace a description of that calculation that's resulted in a number of milliliters of water, but you can use CO2 GANs instead of water. The amount the weight of aluminum and the weight of sodium hydroxide.
That gives hydrogen gas. I don't know if that will automatically give Gans. Is that what the idea is there?
Right, I thought it would give Gans.
I'm not clear if that follows necessarily. Is that one of the things that Mr. Keshe referenced, or is that, I know that I've worked out the calculation for that for the hydrogen gas. It's a very, you can work out the gas. Justin says, I will answer. You want to answer, Justin? Do you have that information? Is that what you're saying there? Okay, we have attendees with their hands up. There's Justin. I'll promote you to panelists. And Libby. Okay, you should be coming through there now.
Sorry, I had to switch from my phone to my laptop. In a double core reactor, last year, Mr. Keshe explained to us to use the CH3 and an aluminum Gans in a double core system with a little bit of sodium hydroxide in one and then acid in the other. And what ended up happening with the aluminum Gans with the sodium hydroxide is that there was a tremendous amount of hydrogen gas that enveloped once the cores were under rotation. This then exploded. So I do want to recommend that anybody who's going to be doing something of the sort inside a little reactor, at least at a bare minimum, put a protective wall or barrier or plexiglass around the reactors if they intend on mixing aluminum with hydroxide in any kind of closed environment. One realized and asked Mr. Keshe, and he explained to use a very, very tiny bit of the aluminum container.
Just for an idea, if you make hydrogen gas by the reaction of aluminum with caustic soda, in that case, 1 gram of aluminum will produce about 7.6 liters of hydrogen, or 0.64 grams of hydrogen, which is enough to fill a balloon with diameter of 24-25 centimeters at normal atmospheric pressure. This is just to give you an idea about how much gas is produced by just 1 gram of aluminum.
If you want to talk about the hydrogen, I can talk about the hydrogen.
I know a lot of us would be grateful, John.
Yeah.
Who put this up? Sander, you want to talk about this, Sander?
Sorry?
Okay, so let me go back to sharing.
Yes.
And if I get off topic, or you want, well, Sander, you want to stop sharing? Or you want to talk about yours, Sander? I don't know.
Yeah, shall I stop the sharing?
Yes, please.
Yeah, if you can tie it in as much as possible, John, keep bringing us back to the idea of peace within this concept. That would be great.
Can I say something, please? It's Doug.
Sure, go ahead, Doug.
In the letter to the governments, it's saying that there are vast economic opportunities in plasma science.
That's why technology is important for creating peace.
Yeah, exactly. And Mr. Keshe has told the story about the Eastern European countries when the Soviet Union broke up and there was no need for armies and factories were lying vacant and workers were out of work and everyone was perplexed. And with the adaptation of those machines to pianos and buckets and clocks, everybody got their jobs back. And I think what John is on about is part of the deal, that the governments have to know that there is a simpler technology available and it's right in front of us on the screen. And if it can be shown to the industrialists that are now making the sophisticated weapons and the planes and so on, they'll take to this like a duck to water and produce energy devices that can power cities and give people jobs for a long time to come. And of course, we are spiritual beings, and that also, will come, some more than others or faster than others. But I think it's all interrelated myself.
Right, and that machine can produce food and water also. That's on the board.
Yes. And medicine or curing of pain and ailments and from natural disasters and shelter for people that haven't got shelter. And, it can produce more jobs than we've even dreamed about. And everybody can become equal. And it's all part of the same thing.
You're absolutely correct, because what's on the table is the solutions to the problem. And until, as knowledge seekers, we can bring forth the solutions, it's one thing to hear the talk. Mr. Keshe is not going to build the system for us. We have to do it. He's told us how to do it. And, I can share information that can help move a lot of people forward in their understandings, and it will support a lot. And peace is more than just about stopping wars. It's about stopping the in order to bring peace to a heart, you need to bring peace. You need to have a heart that's can see hope, can see possibilities for new change, can see possibilities for a better way to do things. Otherwise, people have no jobs. They want to survive, and they get into these survival instincts. So that's what we're really doing also with this big picture here that I'm trying to tie together. And there's plenty of time in this conversation to talk about the letter. We can always go back to that. If some people feel more inclined to want to do that than this.
John?
Yes?
This is Libby, and I love what you're teaching us, and I love your spiritual aspect. So I want to ask you, if I can, to tie in this to that same teaching on day 10, where Mr. Keshe said we can shake hands with ourselves to create the electrons of our own field forces of our soul. And you led us through some beautiful meditation in a private class. So I really gained a lot from that meditation. And I know within you, your soul is creating this so that all of the souls on this planet can be elevated. So what you're doing is very important. If you could tie it in for us to know how to accomplish being able to shake hands with ourselves to create the electrons of our own field forces of our souls.
Okay.
So can we come back to that later and let John to finish?
Sandra, it's all tied together.
It is, yeah. I know. Thank you.
Because one of the things that Mr. Keshe told us is that this system will elevate our soul. And not only will it elevate our soul, but we can radiate out these fields by changing the amount of tritium, for example, that we put out here. We exponentially radiate out farther fields. So we're not trying to radiate out fields for the entire Earth quite yet, but if we change this to a 6, this to a 9, and this to a 12, the field size radiates out exponentially farther. So now, rather than having a 5-mile radius, we have a 50-mile radius. And then we do it again. We put, 12 24 and 36, and we radiate out even farther. So what we're doing is everybody that's in that field is elevated. So in essence, what we're doing is think of it more like this. We're shaking hands with humanity in that we're supporting them with the energies that will allow them to take what they need and leave the rest behind. So for those souls that want to move forward, they'll get the energies. For those that have no desire to, they won't get the energies.
That is perfect. Thank you very much. So we can also extrapolate from that and start meditating, visualizing, elevating our own levels of tritium. Correct? Through our.
So think about this for a second, Libby, and the rest of you. Everything starts with our intentions. If our intentions when we start to build this is to support humanity in their role to elevate the souls, then our wish and our intention has power. And that's what we will achieve with what it is that we're trying to create. So keep that in mind when you're starting. Now you can also put subconsciously, and Mr. Keshe touched on it for just a little bit, but subconsciously you can move your thoughts into this conscious field that's in the center right here that you create. And this consciousness field can be, it can contain love, it can contain gratitude, it could contain whatever it is that you wish to additionally radiate out from these fields.
That is perfect. Thank you very much.
So this is where we need to, as a collective, start to experiment with this. We need to start to understand, how do we do this? Okay, so let's go back to hydrogen GANs for a minute. And I'm going to share with you how I do it. And it will hopefully unlock some keys for other people to maybe do it in a little bit different way. Because this is maybe a little slower process. So what we're doing what we're trying to do is we're trying to pull the hydrogen atoms away from, in this case, the CH bond of plastic. So what I have here is a normal plastic container that we all use for Gans materials. I have here a Coca-Cola bottle that I've nano-coated on the inside with hot caustic. And what I've done after I've nano-coated it is I put a hole in the side of it, and I put a long carbon rod so it almost touches the bottom, but still has, an area between the bottom and this materials that's on the bottom. So after we nano-coat it, this inside of this plastic bottle, we drill a hole in the top to put a plastic tube from here into a saltwater container. This tube actually goes down into the salt water. And what you're doing here is you're collecting the gas, the hydrogen gas, as it's coming up, and it goes into the salt water. So before we put this top on, I put the cut up tops of Coca-Cola bottles and not so much the plastic itself on the sides, but this material that's been heated. So I use the tops and the bottoms, and we cut them up into little pieces. We grind them up into little pieces. We put a bunch of those pieces of plastic that have CH bond to them, carbon and hydrogen. And we put those in we put caustic materials in here. So we put sodium hydroxide, or lye. Maybe about a tablespoon, not too much. We don't want to create too much action. We want to loosen the carbon and the hydrogen bonds. That's what our key is in this thing. Loosen the carbon and hydrogen bonds. So the carbon from this carbon stick and this carbon stick right here will work in a way that they'll pull the carbon fields out of the plastics. Okay. So this is salt water. So this whole container has salt water. And this is salt water, same salt water. This bottle we fill it up with the lime material down here with the Coca-Cola bottles. We put hot water in, but we're careful with these Coca-Cola bottles. What they'll do is when you put that in, the hot water in there, is they'll want to suck down and become very distorted. So we like to use like a 24-ounce Coca-Cola bottle, not the 12-ounce ones. Because they tend to be hardier. They're stronger material. They'll shrink a little bit, but they won't distort dramatically. The 12-ounce ones, they distort very easily. The plastics that they use are very, very cheap. Okay, so now we have this called a semi-distorted Coca-Cola bottle. We have a little bit. Let's say this much is hot water, and then we add an additional amount of salt water here. So we put a little bit of salt water here. Fill it up with a little bit of salt water after you've got that reaction going. And then when we put this Coca-Cola bottle in, we poke a hole in this water line in the bottle so that you can have a reaction from this one to this one. If you don't poke that hole, then you won't get, when you hook this up to your meter. So now this is going to go to a power supply. We hook one line and we hook another line. And usually what we do is this would be a plus and this would be a minus. Oh, no, this is minus. This is our saltwater line. Oops. My eraser don't work. Okay. Anyways, you get the concept. So let me think. What are we missing? Okay. So then what happens is you have Gans material in 3 areas. Here, from here. After about 2 weeks of this going on, and this power is reading about. We use about 10 volts. 10 volts. And you have to have amps. So as soon as you get amps, and this can vary, if you get let's just say you have 3 amps. You have to have an amperage reading, and you'll see the bubbles coming off of both of these carbon rods. Okay, on the bottom here, on this bottle here, you'll have a blue. When you're all done, you'll let this run for about 2 weeks. Blue-gray material. You'll dump out and filter out this bottle, everything that's in this bottle. You'll strain it out to get all the pieces of lye and stuff. And then you go through a wash cycle. In this container that has salt water, you'll get a black residue. This is your carbon GANs down here. This will be black. And then over here, if you're able to generate the hydrogen, it'll be more of a light yellow. So this also is a hydrogen GANs, but the stronger hydrogen GANs is this one. So with any hydrogen GANs, what you're doing is remember when we had our CH3 kit, and this is how we made our tritium? And he told us a different way, but let's go back to the first way. What we did is we had our nano-coated copper and our zinc. Just like we were making a CO2 kit. And here was the water level. So what we do is we take a little plastic container and we float it. And this is their tritium level here. And we just connect it to the sides so that it doesn't tip over. And we put a little bit of power, just like we were making our CO2 kit. We make sure that we have amino acids here, because then we have the carbon connection. So we have carbon fields interacting, carbon fields from here, this outside water, interacting with the carbon fields that are inside to pull the carbon fields from here to here. So we're moving carbon fields out to where we now have the tritium inside. Now he also told us that we could do it with taking a bucket of deuterium, putting deuterium in here. This is a whole thing of deuterium. And again, putting a container of CH3. And because this deuterium, when we made it, it was also had the carbon connection, because we made it using the chicken wire and the nano-coated copper. This carbon connection interacts with this carbon connection. So this CH3 becomes a stronger H3. Now, whether it's 100% or 88% or 10%.
John, are these floating containers open or closed?
Closed.
Thank you.
Matter of fact, what we do is we put a piece of plastic over this.
So I mean the little container which is floating inside salt water.
Closed.
So are the fields pulling through the matter state wall of the container?
Say that again, please.
So we create some fields which to extract the carbon from the CH3, which you put into the closed container inside. So can those fields pull out the carbon through the closed matter state walls of the inner container? Doesn't it need to be open top?
What we do is we nano coat this whole container. So it's in this container it's in a nano coated container. It's in the deuterium water. And it's our understanding, and I don't have all the answers, but it's our understanding is that, and I'm going from the words that I heard from the teaching, I think was maybe also on that the 10th PM, and you can go back and listen to it, again if you're unclear. He used the curly Qs as his deuterium lines.
John?
Yes?
It's Caroline. A question. Can you provide people a picture of the kind of plastic boxes you use and how you close them, that they have a visual idea not only by drawing, if possible? Maybe you can pull them up later on. Maybe you have no access straight away, but it would be nice to give people a visual idea. Thank you.
Let me pull some pictures up.
Glass may be better than plastic.
Hold on, let me pull some pictures up here in the background. Okay, so let's see. Can you see that share now?
You see, John, when it goes visual, people have a structure and they can find the material much easier what you're trying to explain in words. Now they have a visual view, and maybe people can take screenshots from the screen and then post it that people can keep on going back to it, that they don't need to go through the full teaching, but that these pictures are available for everybody to pick up freely. Thank you.
Can you share? Can you see that sharing right there?
Yeah, it's really good. And I remind you, you can annotate on top of this too if you want to.
So this is our setup for the hydrogen GANs. So we actually are doing 2 at once. You could probably do 3 at once. We have them all connected, because this is really the gold right here, that we get from the bottom of these Coca-Cola bottles. You can see we glue the carbon stick, and then we connect it to power. And this one also has a top that goes into, both of these 2 tops go into salt water. This is at the early stages when it just got set up. Let me find some. Okay, well.
Sorry, what was that thing which was hanging on the copper wire on the bottom?
Hang on a second.
That was the positive connection terminal. It's just so that they can hook up multiple at one time.
Yeah.
Okay, it was looking like something is hanging into the water.
This piece here is carbon. It's a carbon block instead of a carbon stick.
Thank you. So you have not only 2 carbon pieces, but you have 3.
Think of these 2 bottles as doing the exact same thing. These 2 bottles are doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
This carbon connects to this carbon, and it connects to this carbon. When we turn the power on, it bubbles here, and it bubbles here.
I have a quick question, John. If you could explain quickly, it looks, just because it's red, as if you have the positive on the outside and the negative then maybe on the inside of the Coca-Cola bottles. I just want to clarify with the picture. You showed in the example drawing that the negative was actually on the outside of the Coca-Cola bottles.
So here's this, let me see, this piece here is we have a negative going here and the positive going here.
Okay, so just to verify then that the drawing that you shown just before the actual picture, we would reverse the terminals that you had in that drawing that you shown previous, just about 2 minutes ago.
I've tried them both ways. I think the way we like it best is the negative up here on these on the bottles going into the Coca-Cola bottles.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So this would be the type of plastic container that we were talking about. Let me find a better one. If you don't mind me finding the pictures here in the background.
I don't think any of us mind at all.
Yeah, it's best to select the picture you want to show, John, and then just show that.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Hold on in the background. I'm trying to.
Let's see all your secret pictures then of the latest developments, and that wouldn't be so. Well, it would be good actually.
Actually, here's a whole bunch of pictures you can see. You see everything here. How's it? But what I'm trying to get at is, let me see. Which one do I want? It's not in this file. Let me find it in the background. And here you relate to this one, huh? There's my letter. That's the letter that's going out tomorrow morning.
John, I have a quick question, please. Is Jalal here?
Yeah, go ahead.
The CO2 kit you powered supply, is it with power supply or the normal CO kit with the green lid?
I'm sorry, what's the question again?
The CO2 kit, what you prefer to make the, I think, tritium? Is it with the power supply or the normal LED light?
Okay, so you have to make CH3 first.
Yeah, that we have, yes.
Okay, so when you make the CH3, then you can go to making the tritium. And what we do is we nano coat that box, and then we excuse me, I'm trying to find pictures in the background here.
It's only in the circuit that we need to put power in it, or the normal process with the CO2.
For the CH3?
No, yeah, to make the tritium.
Yeah, no power.
Only connection, normal connection.
Only connection is correct.
We can use nano-coated wire.
You don't have to.
Okay. Just a normal.
Are you talking about instead of the copper, the nano-coated plate? Nano-coated wire instead of the copper, nano-coated copper?
Look, normally when you are making CO2 kit, you are using nano-coating plate and zinc plate, and then you connect it with LED light.
LED light, like this one.
Yeah. So you need one like this or just normal connection, because you are sealing it everything. So that is the question.
So now when you're going from you have the CO2 kit, you're floating inside this CO2 kit in between these two plates, a container that has CH3 in it, and you're sealing it off, and then you're putting a piece of plastic over the top of this so you don't allow air to come in, and we also put a piece of cover over the CH3 so that it doesn't spill and tip over and contaminate the CO2 as we're making it.
Okay, and the connection is normal, this LED light.
We don't, when we're making that we don't use the LED light.
Just normal connection.
Normal connection. So we use the power supply. Okay,
and do we think about the spacing between the blades?
I don't think it's gonna bother one way or the other.
Because when we are closer, it's making CO2. Bigger gap is making zinc. That's why I'm asking.
Ours are measured out, so when we make them, they're, the gaps are already correct. You're right. If you move it too close, you get a different kind of CO2. But if you're using yours, usually use like a 5 to 6 inch, gap, 5.5 inch. Or if Wiki has something different, then follow Wiki. This is how we do it. Again, I'm not going to say I have all the correct answers. We share to our level of understanding.
Okay, and I have only a quick question, please. The deuterium, you put nano-coated copper and chicken mash.
Yes.
And the nano-coated copper get the plus or the minus for the power? Only the connection we need to know.
Please. Minus.
Nano-coated copper minus.
Yes.
With the power supply 0.5 volt.
Approximately.
Okay, thank you very much. And I have one thing to Caroline. Please check the private chat. I sent you a message. Thank you. Thank you, John.
Okay. Okay, so those that haven't watched the 10th day 10 PM session, Mr. Keshe really opened up the door for all of us. I'm just going to encourage you once again, go back and listen to it one more time. And you heard what I shared. Maybe what I shared and what Mr. Keshe shared will start to tie together a little bit more. And you'll start to understand that, not just John is saying that you elevate the soul with these reactors, but Mr. Keshe is also sharing it. And it's now up to us to, bring it forward. Because when we can elevate our souls through, I'll call it the hydrogen process, and for some, maybe it's the only way that they'll ever get elevated, or even come close to getting elevated, we move things forward rapidly. Instead of being on the slow path, we move to the fast path.
Thank
Any
you,
other
John.
questions?
Checking the chats here. There's a question from Colton who asks, so these triple cores are made of only the D, T, and H, correct? I believe that's the case, right?
Listen to the first part of the understanding. What we're testing is whether or not we want to actually put deuterium in the middle ball. We're going to do two tests, one with deuterium and one without deuterium, because when we have hydrogen in the middle, hydrogen in the middle and tritium in the outside, it's my thinking that you'll get deuterium in the middle, and maybe it will be more like a free plasma deuterium versus a Gans state deuterium. So that's what we're testing. We're going to test both configurations.
Can I come back? I think I missed the point. It's Caroline. Where is the mention about aluminium? There should be no aluminium in no process present.
Yeah, if you go back to the 177th workshop when I shared my information about how I make the hydrogen GANs, Mr. Keshe talked about possibly using the aluminum process for making the hydrogen GANs, and there will be easier ways that come out to make it. For right now, I'm not a fan of trying to put the aluminum in there. I tried it. I wasn't successful. Maybe other people were more successful. But what we're doing is we're trying to take something like plastic, which is a CH bond, and pull out the carbon element away from it so it becomes just the hydrogen element in a GAN state. And I believe that the process that we're doing does just that.
So nobody has a confirmation, but you brought hydrogen to Rome, John. How did you make it? And was it tested that it was confirmed hydrogen?
I made it just like I showed you. And so for me, I shared with you in Rome how it is that I determined that it was hydrogen. And my method is maybe different from other methods. But a lot of times when we set our intention to create something, and our intentions are clear and strong and in alignment with the universe, then even though we might not have the process down 100% correct, our results end up with the solution that we desire to obtain. So I went within my heart space and asked if that which I created was the hydrogen GANs, and I got the answer that it was. And we did some dowsing and such to validate it.
Sorry, Caroline, I muted you there. I thought there's another conversation going on. You can unmute if you want to talk again there.
I'm sorry, I didn't notice that. Sometimes I disappear and sometimes I stay on where I shouldn't be. I'm trying to sort things on my computer out at the same time I'm following the conversation. So I'm multitasking at this moment. Thank you for sharing. But John, could you please go back as you started opening this conversation, that you wanted to get back to the factory to do what you received in your, I assumed it was your dream, or you got a visual image of how to do it and how to sort it out?
It was Mr. Keshe's teaching of the 10th, the PM teaching.
Can you go slower through this, what and how you explained it? Because a lot of people are missing the point, what you were trying to get. But I got the point, but I would really love you just to repeat that part. Because, you know, you spoke from your heart because it touched your heart. And that's why it is so essential and so important.
Yeah, for me, a lot of times when I'm listening to Mr. Keshe, my soul knows when he says something that was maybe not directed specifically to me, but it was information that I had, that I needed to create and to do what it is that we're trying to achieve. So in other words, and I've kind of started living my life like this to a big degree, and that is kind of following the breadcrumbs of everything that's along my soul's path, because my soul is leading me, my soul is guiding me each step of the way to achieve that which it is that I wish to achieve, which is to be of service to humanity and to bring about these changes that are happening in this time in a peaceful and positive way for as many people as possible. It's not about figuring out the answer and then go running away. It's about figuring out the answer and serving the rest of humanity by teaching, by sharing, by offering the solutions that everybody can move forward. And when Mr. Keshe shares, he shares it equally to everybody. So it wasn't just me that heard the conversations. Everybody has knowledge equally. Some will move with it. Others will simply listen to it and wait for others. And others, it won't ring true. In other words, it'll be too big of an understanding for their heart and their soul to accept at this time. So they'll simply pass it by as more of the same, and they won't move or react to it. What I do in my life is each thing that comes along my path, I know that it's there for a reason, and I try to learn from it. And when dealing with these technologies, there are times when things just ring like a bell. That was the missing piece. And in that teaching, I even wrote Mr. Keshe a note later on in the day. I said, "Thank you for the missing piece," because I knew that I had just received it.
Thank you, John. Is there any other comments about that? I see, Valerie, you have your microphone open. Did you want to speak? Okay, I guess not. Anyone else?
Yeah, hello, here's Thomas from Switzerland. I might be able to connect some of John's information to what we were speaking about yesterday. I have also started to create star formations with 3D printers, and I've loaded them with double cores. On the top core, I have the CH3 on the outside and the Zinc CO2 on the inside. And on the 3 bottom cores, I have it exactly the other way around. And also the top core spins clockwise, and the lower 3s, they spin anti-clockwise. And during experimentation, I have discovered that there is also a connection to this violet field we were talking about yesterday. Some of us have seen this field, and last Sunday I made a public meditation with the star formation. Some people from Switzerland came and joined. And the results were quite amazing for me, because they were some of them were very quickly able to see the field. Some of them had other visual effects they could witness. And so I have a feeling, I'm not quite sure about this, I'm having a feeling that for the elevation of the souls, maybe we don't have to do this relative complicated triple core methods and producing new GANs. I have made quite nice experiences just with the double cores and the CH3 and zinc CO2 inside. So
yes, and I would also interject and suggest that it may be possible we don't need any of the hardware really. And it's nice to have people working with the hardware, and those that wish to do that it's a pretty small percent of the population of planet Earth, that is for sure. And as these stronger field forces from these reactors reach out, it'll make a big effect, no doubt. But it's still, I think we have to get back to the local level in a way. And in one sense, we can, with our personal interactions with others, is a way that we can activate our own reactors inside and produce our own energy, because essentially the way I look at it, we're moving into a period on this planet where humans are becoming like independent energy generators, you might say. We're now more independent, but at the same time able to intercommunicate. And we're generating this energy, this sort of love energy, you could say, or you could say just giving from the soul, this concept of giving from the soul to help elevate others. And you can actually direct that force to allow others to take as much as they wish from it or are able. And I think that doesn't require a reactor externally to go through, and that it can be done in a bare room with a single light bulb and a carpet on the floor or whatever, or nothing perhaps. And I think we need to work more toward that that basis, so we can reach out to a wider spectrum of people on the planet who are now activating themselves to help in that effort. And I think that's more part of the global phenomenon that we can, that people can identify with more. I mean, it's good for people to see that there's this technology behind this movement from the Keshe Foundation and the people involved with the Keshe Foundation. But at the same time, we have to keep, I think we have to make it into, it always comes to the bottom line about our emotions and our blocks to certain emotions and feelings and feeling the fields and that aspect. Bringing about peace in ourselves, which then reflects in our outer world to present peace there as well. And so I think we need to sort of come back to that somehow in a more direct way, so we don't get lost in the technological aspects here.
So I would say to that, Rick, this is John again, that it's not about abandoning the work that the inner work that we're doing, but what I look at is it's not a solo journey that we're taking, that we have all humanity to look look forward to. And these tools that we're creating can help to elevate the masses. And it's one of the only ways that some of the masses are going to be able to come along for the ride. And it's maybe it's not the only way, but it's one of the ways that will help the masses transition into the new period. And so it's kind of both. And Thomas, you know, these reactors, they have the ability to do much more than just one thing. You can build your reactors, and this is why the testing is so important. You can build your reactors to do a number of different things. We've in our facility, we built what we call a disclosure reactor project, where we've put the Gans of silica and the Gans of the emotional hemoglobin together, and the fields that we get. We were trying, or it was our intent, to build a space that ETs could come and visit us in our place, in our home, that was safe, and they were able to interact with us in it. So it's not one thing that can be created. It's kind of up to our imagination and our inspiration as to what we can do. And that's why the hydrogen Gans is important, but it's not the only thing. What you're doing it feels right for what it is that you're trying to obtain. And there's a whole bunch of other things. You know, is it your desire to create gold? You know, then build one to create gold. Is it your desire to, you know, send out strong emotional fields? Then build one to do that. These are the learnings that we're trying to go through, and the sharings that we go through. That's why we share all of these experiences.
Thank you so much, John, for this addition. Going back to what Rick said, it just popped in my mind that Mr. Keshe said that our souls are the strongest reactors. So this would also imply that we don't need a dynamic core to work with the soul and to produce the strongest intention for peace.
So let me throw out a question, and maybe it's for everybody. Do you think that we simply give up and throw away all of our Ganses and all of our coils and all of our magras and say, well, everything that we've done, we don't need it anymore because we're going to wait until our souls are elevated and we can figure out how to do a lot of these things ourselves? I think you need both. And I think the more you use and share the one, the quicker you get to the other.
Yes, I agree. That's why I created them. It's a very big help to bring balance to my mental system, I would say. And the more balance there is, the more the soul has the freedom to operate. This is my experience. And yeah, how can I say, these fields of the star formation, they also produce kind of a center line, and this center line, I can use it to harmonize myself and to adjust my consciousness. And I'm also all the time, the field also always reminds me where I have to look, which problems I have to solve in my life. And yeah, it's how can I say, it's a very good guide also on the path of spiritual or soul development.
I would like also to add something, please. If you go to Africa and go to some guy who is dying from lack of food, and tell him, yeah, you can feed yourself from your soul. He will not hear you. If you go to someone who is at war place and tell him, you can have a shelter if you just ask your soul, he will not hear you. But as John said, this is only tools to open a door for these people to think they have the tools, and they have the machine to do all of that, and that is the soul. The same thing if you use the calculator. You can calculate any number, but if I ask you now, just put three figures numbers and calculate them, you will not. You will take time. Maybe you will take 2 days. But use the tool, the calculator. You will figure it out in seconds. So this is only tools we are using that we help, and this is also a door that all the people, they will notice there is something. This science is there, and the whole science in there also in their souls. So I think John is doing the right thing. Thank you.
If we don't show humanity a tool such as, some people thinking just the free energy device, people are thinking the spaceship. If we don't show humanity that tool to lead them forward to a better way of life, and we simply wait on the soul to be elevated, we won't grow as a society. We need these tools, and we, as part of the Keshe Foundation, have to take all the work that Mr. Keshe has shared over the 3+ years that we've all been listening to all this stuff, and put it into practice, and come up with some of these creative solutions to show that there's a better way to do things.
I absolutely agree, John. In fact, I'm first in line later on today to order one of your Starship configuration reactor setups there for experimental purposes. But on the other hand, we all have this basic innate ability to give from our soul. It's very, very simple. It's 2 words: give and soul. And everybody knows how to give, and everybody knows what their soul is. And to give from your soul, anyone can do it. A child can do it. Someone that just knows those 2 words can do it. And they can give from their soul to their leaders of their nation. They can give from their soul to the whole earth, or they can give from their soul to their family, or just give from their soul, period, just to the environment. There's so many ways to give from the soul, but it's a giving process rather than getting and receiving all the time and so on that we're used to as humans. So it's a reversing of the flow. And I think that's the main tool we actually have in the teaching of the Keshe Foundation. But we still need these other, physicality tools and devices to illustrate and sort of be a channel for that energy, perhaps. But my point is, at any point in time, any one of us can tap into that direct channel and just simply give from the soul, poof. And in an instant, it's done. And you don't have to do it all the time, 24 hours a day or anything. It's just enough to make the connection. And then the rest of it takes care of itself. And that way, the whole process is created from that intention and rather than having the go-between. I think that's the important thing, that everyone on this planet can have that direct connection now. They don't have to have a guru. They don't have to have a master. They don't have to have a device. They don't have to have anything but themselves and their relationship to themselves in order to give from the soul. And it's just so simple and so direct and so in front of us that it's virtually hidden, because we spend so much time in our complicated world of the physicality figuring out things and how we can make things better and change this and change that and so on, when the answer may be very simple, to just simply be present in the moment and give from the soul. And anyway, that's, but I'm still first in line to get your reactor system. And I want the individual one too. So I'll put my order in later on today. Thank you very much, John.
I couldn't agree more, Rick. That was what you said is absolutely bullseye.
I concur. Brilliant. And we're coming up to that hour mark.
Oh, that's right. So it's a good time for a moment or a minute of silence to ponder. Where are we going to ponder the reactors and all the Ganses in the next minute? Are we going
within
to ponder
ourselves? Within the reactor.
The reactor within.
Hello?
Your choice. Let's start the minute of silence.
Hello.
Hello, Caroline.
I'm sorry, I panicked. I thought everybody was gone.
No, we're in our minute of silence.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry I missed this because my birthday cake just arrived. That's why.
Oh my God! Well, happy birthday!
Happy birthday to you! Happy birthday to you!
Happy birthday, dear Caroline!
And what a
Happy
great
birthday to you! That's a perfect way to break a half minute of silence.
I'm sorry.
You never have to be sorry, and you know that.
I do apologize because I was.
It's beautiful. We brought the Caroline core right into the meditation. It was perfect.
Yeah. Good one, Libby. Yeah. The heart of the matter.
I was wondering where everybody went suddenly.
You were left in the voidness of the void there, huh? Yeah. Well, thank you for breaking the silence. It's good. Good to have that.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello.
Hello, this is Valerie. Happy birthday, Caroline, and hi, everyone. I tried to ask a question now for some time, but my microphone stopped working, so I couldn't, so I had to log out and log in again. But my question is to John, if possible, if you don't mind.
Okay, go ahead.
If he's still there, otherwise we can take it next time.
I'm here.
Okay, great. About the two dynamic reactors, the triple cores that you talked about with the silver stationary reactor. I know Mr. Keshe explained that you don't have to have the three cores, one inside another, but you can have three different reactors instead. Well, my question is, have you any experience with double core reactors, and if you had any same results as the triple core?
Right now, we have double core reactors in what you saw as the Spaceship in some of the earlier teachings, where you had the 18 magravs, the Starship formation. We use in the double core reactors there. We fill them with carbon and deuterium, and we're generating fields that are over 200 feet in circumference. So we've done a lot of work with the double cores as well. So what you're doing with the double cores is you're feeding from one to the other, from the inside to the outside, or the outside to the inside, depending on what it is that you're trying to achieve.
Yes, okay, yeah, that was my question. If it will have the same loop effect, the infinity loop. If you would maybe put, let's say, tritium in the inner core and hydrogen in the outer core, and then reverse in the second reactor.
That's why we need to test. You know, I'm not here to give definitive.
No, that's not what I meant. I was just thinking if you had any experience in that.
We have experience, but I don't know that we've unlocked all of the doors that need to be unlocked.
Yes, I understand. Thank you very much, John.
You're welcome.
Hello? Anybody there?
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah,
Oh,
yes,
hi.
can you hear us?
Yes, my name is Stella. And, well, I'm one of those that I've been experimenting actually with the field, but no with the gangs. And I've been learning through the experience. I mean, I experienced the gangs fields. I have a car unit in my car, and I have a unit in my house. But what I want to share is my experience in terms of manifestation and feeling the feel. What does it mean being peace? And how I've been learning about the biology and how, you know, your mind kind of, you know, manifests in your body. But the peace is what I really think is so important, because it gets into the emptiness, which it's an intuitive, is coming from inside. It's like a bridge to the source field, where I myself found information, and then I verified that by synchronicity with other people. And one of the synchronicity would be you guys as the Keshe Foundation, because it was meant to be when I found you. And I've been learning, and all my life I've been trying to. I am an architect. I'm a lighting designer. I'm into the environment. I move into the mountains right now. I'm away from LA, because I couldn't live in that electromagnetic field. And so the last 3 years of my life changed radical, and I've been trying to find that peace we're talking about, and I've been exercising by trying to move my mind into my heart and try to control my day in peace by thinking and doing things in a loving way, because I'm very emotional, and my emotions take me away from my balance, and then I'm not longer working in a good vibration, and my creativity and everything goes away if I'm not in that loving vibration and passionate about what I'm doing. So, and I listen to you guys, and you're very scientific and trying to find answer in a scientific way, but one thing is feeling that love and peace, or feeling the feel, I think is crucial to find the key answer on this. Because our bodies is our generator, our cells, the membrane of our cells, where the energy is generated, you know, the fundamental life force. So, sorry, I hear a sound. So, I just want to share something simple, and the trusting, I think, is 100% trusting yourself, because the whole humanity, they make us believe not to trust ourselves and not to follow their feelings. And we need to rise trusting as being humans, and by having a heart, and to try to have a vision of a better humanity, you know?
I am so glad that you came forward, because it was just flashing through my head to bring forward from the teaching that you are all carrying the reactors inside your body.
Yeah, I am an empathic. I feel everything. I have to move away because I was sensitive to sound, light, smells. My whole nerve system went chaotic. I'm sensitive to food. And sensitive, I feel people's energetics. And even meditation, I think the best meditation is not to think, it's just to observe, be in the moment. It's what they call mindfulness, you know, whatever you do and just be connected and happy, that's a meditation and being in peace. But not to have that anxiety to be the super scientist and discover the world. I think we need to enjoy what we're doing and doing with love and trust that we're gonna reach that bridge of freedom, you know? Because there is such a synchronicities. We are all over in all the countries. It's amazing what the people are doing. And I think that's the biggest, how you say, verification that this is real and it's happening and it's unstoppable. So we need to enjoy the ride and trust ourselves, and we're gonna see a surprise that's gonna happen, you know. And everybody has their own journey, because this is like a big mirror of broken pieces, and now we're putting the pieces together, and everybody has a unique piece. And if I feel something, the other person is doing a generator, and the other one is doing a Gans, and all those things together, that's what's going to make the big piece. So that's all I want to say.
That's beautiful,
Thank you,
Estella. Oh, is it Estella?
Yes,
Stefania.
Estella Claudia. Yeah, Estela Claudia.
Thank you so much, Estela. That is perfect. That is exactly so true. And you also said that you had received a, you did have a MagRav in the house, and
Yeah, yeah,
and
because what happened to me is like my whole nerve system went crazy, and I became very like I couldn't think. So I went in January with Jackie and Temecula, and I did a workshop, and I bought one of the units and the car units, but then I came back home and I couldn't do it. So I just took myself a little bit of peace, you know, like, okay. But I'm just following, doing it, you know. And I have little magras and little bottles, and I have it all day on my body, you know.
Oh, that's perfect. So those fields from those have helped you also.
Oh yeah, I feel it. And the other thing I learned, I'm gonna share this, is sound. I use sound as a healing and as a field and certain frequency because I know vibration, and that's why it's so important to educate the body to have peace, to feel the vibrations. And everything is frequency, everything. And when our left and right brain, we synchronize, that's like, and then we make the unity, you know, the center. So that's what also, the whole body is a big machine.
Thank you so much for sharing this. This is exactly, so it's such important information that we often forget. And when we have someone like you come in with your personal experience and share how it's helped you change. And thank you. This is delightful.
Thank you, because it's two to tango. We are all connected, and you know, that hope is because we are on this together, and that's the most important at this moment. And turn off the TV and the news and keep working with our goals, because the peace is what is gonna win. And that's the most important, is not to lose our temper. I'm Italian Argentine, so I'm just too emotional.
That's okay.
Well, you're certainly doing a good job right now. Thank you for your passion, but controlled passion here. Yeah. Yeah,
we need to know who we are, and you know, forgive ourselves and love ourselves. Everybody, they put you in society to look the answers outside, and the answer is inside. And that's why I think this thing of the what someone said today, that you're in the center and you have the three fields, and maybe just sitting with three little containers with those fields and meditate and ask to your higher, I call it the higher self. It's like you're here and we are in other dimensions. And when we tune into that source, we connect into ourself and the other parts. And that's how the knowledge comes to us without reading books. Because the universe creates everything. We just tapping into the universe. So basically what we need to do is connect to ourselves and be the Buddha in the center, and we reaching out to ourselves to become one. So that's how I see this generator, you know, in three-dimensionality, and I see myself in the center, with like tuning in, because we are all, we are everything. We are everything. It's like the guy Bruce Lee said, be the water. Well, we can be the hydrogen, we can be the this, and we can be that. Blend with the feel of those elements and become one. I don't know if that's too crazy, but that's how it seems to me.
No, I don't think it's crazy at all, sister. Thank you so much. Yes.
Yeah. That's
the beauty is with coming forward is that the beautiful thing is that a lot of us have not realized that the man, most of them have kickstarted the physicality of the knowledge. And through the physicality, we have opened doors to our non-physicality. And this is where we are linking and making really strong connections with our man and the female aspect, which is so evident in women. We have actually made a bridge because we are uniting in so many ways where in all the different levels or parts of our society, we are so separated. I think this knowledge has created a bridge between the male and the female. And in so many ways, they get touched by the fields, but it's their creation. And we are getting to come to understand how they work through the materialistic state. So I think we have made a huge bridge, which is going vice versa, between the male and the female energy. I think we have come to reach a point of understanding each other better and accepting the capacity between the two and the flow between the two. Maybe somebody can explain in more depth.
I would like to say something about that. Unfortunately, we need to get rid of everything that we learn. But it's okay, because we want to have a better way of living. We need to build, we need to learn again, relearn everything. We need to relearn to respect. We need to relearn how to talk to a man, how to a man talk to a woman, how is a relationship. Because everything was structured, it wasn't created from the heart. It was created from traditions, tradition based on religion or things that were like, you're supposed to do this. No, feel it in this way. When we talk about what is love, now we can probably give 20 different definitions of how to do it. If we work from the peace and from a completely different field, elevated, when we don't need to worry about paying the electrical bill or paying so then we can sit down and really enjoy and relearning to have relationship and to do projects together and to do things that are more productive than thinking and all the money we need to pay. I think that's the reason why we don't live in peace, you know? So going back to John, yes, I agree with you, because that's what's going to allow humanity to focus the energy in things that are more productive for the soul than giving the money to people that only think in the money. So that's what is, we need to learn to enjoy life, to do projects, to love people, love your relationship, being a mother, being a father. People don't even have time to do those things. You're working like a slave. So, and I have this, sorry.
No, it's fine. I was wondering if there are any members of the Earth Council present in this meeting today.
I don't know.
If they could, if they could step forward, because we have 6 members of the Earth Council, each continent. And as we started yesterday opening the doors, that the point of peace is achieved, we're going to have to pave the road, how we are all going to walk it. And I think that we have to start involving our council members to come forward to show their vision to the world, to walk the steps and how they visualize, and then from our point of view, where we can go and support them in their huge job. And if
sorry,
yes?
but I'm gonna give you something. Today I bought something in Amazon, and within 10 minutes, my husband said, "Don't buy it, cancel." I couldn't cancel because the automatic robot, you cannot stop it. So in 2 days, we're gonna have delivered packet. So, and then I tried to write a letter to the owner of Amazon, and I said, my idea was, industrial revolution killed the spirit of the artisan, because he was building these tables pieces without understanding the whole table. So there was no more passion and art in what they were doing. And this is our society today. So saying this, that's what we need to bring back, in the way how we produce, and the way how we live, and we will live everything, because everything is soulless. People are like machines, instant messages, instant emails. They don't even know, kids don't know how to socialize. People don't know how to talk anymore, because you're not doing anymore through voice. You do it through email or texting or whatever. So like I said, we need to relearn to do things in a completely different way, how humans were created in this planet, to enjoy the planet. So, I have a vision, and I know it's going to be done, but the core structure has to be to understanding you bring the soul to everything we do through our soul. We learn, because there is a lot of percentage on this planet, they are completely asleep, and they don't even know what does it mean to work with the heart. They have to pay the mortgage. They don't even care about working from the heart, because they are already programmed in that way. So they feel what it does, it helps the biological body to awake. And by being this group of people from the Keshe Foundation to start to work with the the first people, the front warriors, or the front inventors. So and then it's the Mandela effect. It's happening, and then it's unstoppable. That's why I know it's going to happen. I talk too much, sorry.
I'd like to put in just a little bridge here, maybe between the two things that we're speaking of. Excuse me?
Who's speaking, please?
This is Nicholas.
Welcome, Nicholas. Always please introduce your name, that we know who's talking, please.
Okay, this is Nicholas, and who's that? Is this Caroline?
Yes, indeed.
Very good. So what I would like to bring here is a picture of the bridge. We in the Keshe Foundation, and the work that we're doing, the ones that call ourselves we, because we feel that we are connected in many ways to this work. We are introducing, through the guidance of Mr. Keshe and other folks that are bringing it, a new era in the planet, and also a connection to other life outside of planet Earth. And this new energy, this plasma energy, is taking us into a new era. As we move into this new era, we need to have the leaders of this country, the people that have been manipulating our lives, to come to an agreement for peace, to come to an agreement to stop this manipulation, because the power of the plasma energy and the intention behind it can go both ways. This energy that we're speaking of, this plasma energy and plasma technology, can also be used to manipulate. And those intentions can be directed each way. So it's an absolute essential that we have an agreement from the people that are the leaders, the ones that are leading us, if you want to call it politics, to agree to do this in a peaceful manner and agree to work towards eliminating war so that we can be effective. And I feel like that so many times, if we look in the past, of the technologies that have come through have either been stolen or used or developed in negative ways. And so that's why this agreement that we're speaking of coming to in the first and second is so essential, because we are moving forward. We say it's unstoppable. That may be true, but still behind it, the intentions and the willingness to come together as one planet and one nation and to work together is important. And then all of the people that are in between, all of these folks that are doing business as usual, that are just plugging into the work every day, are going to become a part of it because they're no longer being manipulated. Anyway, something like that. I just wanted to bring the point across of how,
if I may support you,
that we come to.
If I may interrupt you, the fields and the knowledge which has been taught, you can only receive what you need. No more, no less. You cannot, let's say, overcharge yourself. You can not damage. This is something Mr. Keshe has repeatedly confirmed. There will be no single soul harmed by my knowledge. That's a promise to mankind. Not a single soul will be harmed by this knowledge. You're all guided, you're all... Sorry, I'm getting interrupted. You're all guided. You will not be harmed. Remove the fear of harm. We have repeatedly expressed in our teachings and through the teachings the correct ways of application, of advice, of sharing. And the minute we see where people are making mistakes, we correct. We're all there to guide and to protect and to support. But the total picture of what you're trying to make us aware of is not present. As Mr. Keshe says quite a few times, which sometimes gets on people's nerves, is I've walked you into the path. I've guided you through this direction or in that direction. And this means I am protecting you. I'm at any time, any moment present. There will be not a single soul harmed. And this was one of the first things he explained to me. Not on my soul. Nobody will be able to harm nobody. And if they do, they will not harm the others. They will only harm themselves. Because I've tried to explain this quite a few times. It came through the explanation of the wish, that when you create a wish and you confirm the wish, you receive the wish within 2 weeks, 14 days. The same implements for your correction path, what you used to call the punishment. You receive a path of correction where you have gone wrong, so it comes so fast on your path that you are kept so busy to correct yourself that you will not harm nobody else. And this is a path has already been existing for quite a long time. Mr. Keshe uttered it and explained it and came out in the open with it in Rome. But I know about this already quite some long time before. He said the punishment as it used to be, when it was carried over from generation to generation, you know, the way it was expressed through Christianity, that the mills of God are milling very slowly. I do not know if I use the correct expression in that, but I think you can get my point. Punishments used to be carried from generation to generation to generation, that even your grandchildren and great-grandchildren were carrying the burdens of your whoever came before you, what was done the wrong way or was created the wrong way. That has finished. If Mr. Keshe comes back in the teaching tomorrow, most probably he will be present Thursday morning. This might be one of the first topics we might ask him to explain in more depth. But I know it is 14 days to complete your wish. And it's 14 days to receive a correction if you have walked off the path somewhere somehow. It's not up to me to judge, but I think everybody knows that when you make a maths the wrong way, you have to go and correct and recalculate your maths. The period is finished that it goes to your children and your grandchildren. You carry the responsibility. You know why? The reason is because now you have understood. You have been taught. Now you are responsible. Whoever received the message and the explanation and the advice, you become your own responsibility. You cannot pass it on to nobody, not to your child, not to your wife, not to your neighbor, because you've been taught, you understood, you carry. This is also in one of the main line of teaching in the Baha'i faith, that once you have understood a principle, you cannot deny you have no knowledge about it. That's why Mr. Keshe also explained that every soul has been or is at the same, has reached the same level of all the prophets of the past. What have the prophets of the past taught you? Let's say we go to generally what we know of the 10 Commands. Everybody can go and look them up. Thou shalt not steal in any shape or form. Thou shalt not insult. Thou shalt not covet. Thou shalt not, and you carry on. You all know the 10. So with being taught those 10, you understand the principle between what is right and what is wrong. When you understand the level of what is right and what is wrong, you are responsible. No longer nobody else is responsible. So you cannot keep on blaming somewhere, somebody, something else. With you being, let's say, 3-4 years as a knowledge seeker on board of the Keshe Foundation, you've been taught all the ethics, you've been explained. Once you receive this knowledge, once you understood the knowledge, then it's applicable. You cannot deny that you don't know. You can't go hiding. But Mr. Keshe carries the main responsibility of all this, that he says, not a single soul will be harmed. And even if they try, it will turn into the best. not into harming somebody else. Even people come up with different, and he's repeated this quite a few times. When you make Ganses, when you make systems, and you do something on your own path, make notes, how you made it, what the results are, because we're all learning, you can't go wrong. He kept on repeating, you cannot make mistakes. It's different, it's a different path, and this is exactly what he wants you to do. To be your own, with your own initiative, with your own input of your energy, your creation, because you're creators. If you don't have the freedom to create and you're restricted, then it doesn't work. Then the free will of what is your creation can no longer exist. So you can't work with restriction. You have to be who you are, but with the ethic and the ethos that you know you carry the responsibility, that you know what you're doing. And it will not be passed on to somebody else. It's your creation, you're responsible. And this responsibility is what we are trying to achieve through this whole movement within the foundation, to combine the knowledge, to teach, to reach, to share, to make the bridges between male and female, that there are no more differences between nobody. The female interprets it different, brings it back to the male. It's a vice versa. I'm learning so much from like John and Armin and so many other men who are really creating, they're putting these systems together. They're working day and night to get up at night and start making something else. Even Rick, Vince, they're all, Sander, there's so many. But now see how slowly the women start understanding why they have been so creative in their garages, in their workshops. Now, we women, which are called up in Dubai, please involve the women, because they will teach the children. So we have made a double bridge, not only vice versa from man to woman, but now we are even involving our children. Now, if we work with the ethos, how can we harm somebody? Why the fear? If you work with your ethos, what you have been learning for such a long time, it should not be difficult to understand that Mr. Keshe has put a protection on this so heavy, not a single soul will be harmed. So please remove the fear. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. Okay, how do we progress to the next point? There's a suggestion from Alberto that's been open for a while, that he suggests for our next topic that we invite a Mojan to teach. And he says, I don't think we've heard the teachings from one of our Mojans yet. So maybe that's possible. Mr. Keshe mentioned that at one point as well. So we could probably put out that as a general message to the Mojans out there. We'd like to hear from you. Not now, sometime later, perhaps.
We have an Earth Council.
Whoa.
Sorry. Dr. Rodriguez, I noticed that you're present as an Earth Council. As this is in the blueprint of peace for humanity, and this letter has gone out, we would like to have you to share the importance of this letter, if possible. I've requested this afternoon for the medical, because they are such an important important part because of the change of the physicality that we really can open some keys on the medical side. And I know there are a lot of people trying to find solutions in different ways. Maybe Dr. Rodriguez can open the door for us if you're present, Dr. Rodriguez. Dr. Klaus? Hello.
Yeah, I don't see them
Yes,
responding.
I'm here, Carolina.
Oh, hi.
Hi, good afternoon, Dr. Klaus.
Hi,
I
good
noticed that the medical team is present. If you could share some of your knowledge, how the physicality can work with the soul and the changes we have noticed through the medical teachings.
Yes, I just invited all the doctors and therapists to be part, especially at the afternoon teaching today, because normally on Wednesday afternoon from 2 till 5 Central European time, we have our medical teaching. And I just asked the participants of the medical teaching to be part of the afternoon blueprint for peace for humanity. So there will be doctors and therapists online, especially in the second part today.
Thank you for accepting the invitation.
You're
As it
welcome.
was so important for John, this first part, to share about the reactors and the work and the connection and all the other information, I would love the medical team maybe to open a door towards us.
Maybe, Carolina, we can also ask some doctors from China, because we have a lot of Chinese doctors in the medical teaching. We can ask some from China with a translator to talk. What do you think about this?
That would be a pleasure, no problem.
Okay,
It's
I'm
just
looking for a
only noticed.
translator.
Yeah, I only noticed Dr. Rodriguez, but his phone is or his microphone is blocked.
Yes,
because
but I can prepare. Please go ahead.
No, I said because the medical has brought so much physical changes, it will be so nice for the medical world in our department to share this knowledge with the public and how peaceful people can come by just changing their energy fields.
Yes, definitely. As one could see in the medical teaching, the doctors, therapists who came in the teaching, they changed from their physical doctors to emotional doctors to plasma psychologists. So they gained a lot of experience during the last months and nearly years now. And they gained a lot of experience, yes. I can see. I also heard today in this teaching some doctors from the medical teaching. Not all of them just say that they are part of the medical team. They are also present. They were also present the last days in the blueprint. Sorry, for peace teachings. But maybe there will be some. Of course, we can't force them to talk, but I know there are great discussions in the medical teaching about this topic, and there will be some who will join in the afternoon session, because I just posted it again in the Zoom chat.
Then maybe we can have a topic this afternoon if they're not all present yet in this session. And anybody else has a new topic or a different topic they want to share, please? Rick, I know you can follow the chat room. Every time I move out, I lose all the chats, so I cannot follow there if people are having certain topics to be expressed.
Yeah, it's just the other one would be from Alberto, as I just announced about the Mojan, inviting a Mojan to teach. So that invitation went out.
They're not present. Maybe this afternoon I can send some information out that they can be present today or the afternoon session, but at the moment I don't see them in the list. I know quite a few Mojans are on the move. They're traveling, so it's not so easy to catch them in a way. And that's why they are absent at this moment, because they're moving. You have any other topic you want to share, Rick?
Well,
can we bring the...
We have about 8 or 9 minutes left here, so on this segment.
Can we maybe bring the letter back forward?
Yes, that's a good idea. I've got that set up here now, I can share.
And then see where maybe people can take parts of the letter to express their feelings about what is written down. And we all know the condition which is in the letter. But now, maybe we can go to the different topics and create a new path for the request of this letter. You know, like dissecting it very carefully, and that people can put their emotion and their frustration. But I prefer to go into more the positive way, what we can add to bring this change with the delivery of this message.
Caroline?
Yes, please.
Hi, it's Jalal here.
Lal?
Yes.
Yes,
Did you have my message?
Where, please?
In the private chat.
I will have a look if I can find it.
Okay, thank you.
You might have gotten lost with every time someone drops out, they lose the chat and so on.
No, this is in the private chat. In the Zoom chat.
I cannot, because I'm working from my phone, Jalal, I cannot reach that chat until I close or I go out of Zoom.
Okay.
I cannot read it. If there is something you want to share.
Yes, I would like to change some words in the letter, in the peace letter.
We will have a meeting tonight with the councils, and you're quite welcome to post it, and then I will bring it forward in a meeting tonight.
Okay.
No problem.
Yeah, I will send it again to you. Yeah, thank you.
That's why I'm asking for the letter to be opened up to hear people's impression. But more important is to create the new path with the wish of this letter. Not so much of what is already existing, what we know and has been confirmed up till today, but what the new path will bring on opportunities and change, and how people interpret this kind of change. Because this is the path we are creating for our future, for the children. Not so much of us anymore, but for our next generations to come, to bring that change, and how we would like to realize this change and how we can achieve it by putting the first seeds towards children.
The concept of abundance and an infinity, because we see the infinity in our, you know, the free energy. We have our minds structured as a scarcity and a fear, and this change is going to bring trust, hope, peace, and no fear. And, you know, because the scarcity, everybody is as a subconscious, is in the subconscious mind. Everybody's afraid they're not going to have money or something.
I would love to correct you, if I may so. Please don't use the word free energy, because it doesn't exist. Mr. Keshe has tried to explain this so many times. You need to tap into a different level or a different source to bring something towards you that you can have more of it. It's a tapping into different levels to create something new. Free is not existing. Everything is energy. So you use from one energy to add to another energy, to balance, to create more. But the free is something which doesn't exist, because nothing is free, because it's all carries its own energy level. And I think
I apologize for that, but I didn't mean in the word that
I do understand. But I'm trying to remove free, because we are all making, even if you create your maggraph, you're using energy from somewhere, from your physicality, to create from matter state, to create something which will be more available or in a higher frequency or a higher level. But it's not free. We just are continuously exchanging energy. And that's why I brought in the last presentation, if I remember correctly, if you remember the signs of the universal language, Mr. Keshe explains very, very clearly, we're going to need to learn that language, because this explains how you work with your energy levels on soul level. Do you remember that teaching? It was more or less exactly a year ago.
The hands.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
The position of the hands. Yeah. I am prepared
Thumbs
to give
up.
from.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So Mr. Keshe has really explained it very nice. We will ask him to come back to this topic to maybe open more doors of understanding. But what he's showing in the physicality through the hands, positioning of the hands, the text next to it, which Heather put next to it, explains how you communicate again on energy level. I'm prepared to give, and I'm prepared to receive. I'm okay. It's through our physicality that we learn the universal language. But again, it goes back to the fields. Because I'm prepared to give, you're not going to give a gift. You're going to give a gift not in physicality, but you will give a gift in your emotion. How much energy you're prepared to share to elevate another soul, or you can refuse, or even refuse to receive. This was the topic of the language of the universe. And we all need to learn more about that. So we are always tapping into another level of energy. So it's the word free is, people think, it gives the wrong intention of how we work and communicate with energy. And I try to correct it all the time. That's what we're trying to do. And I didn't take it in any wrong direction. But Rick, if you could open the letter and maybe read the first part.
Okay, well, it's time now to end the session normally, but we can maybe start the next session with the letter, or I can read it if you wish, sure.
It's fine if we can start with the start this afternoon and then build it up. That would be nice, because otherwise we're going to go halfway now if we start.
Right. That's what
I will
concerned about. Yeah.
Yeah, but I will ask one thing to all the knowledge seekers present at this moment. You all see the letter, it will stay in your, it's like an imprint. Connect what you will and what you're prepared to give with this letter, with this intent. And so we can start a beautiful session this afternoon. I wish you all a pleasant lunch and a time out. And thank you for everybody who was present this morning. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Caroline. And thank you, everybody, for your participation here today. It's been outstanding and great presentation, John, for that and everything. Okay, so we'll end the session for now. It's the afternoon session for Wednesday, July 19th, 2017, for the Blueprint for Peace for Humanity. And we'll be back in about an hour at 2 p.m. Central European Time, and we'll begin the afternoon session. Okay, I'll end the live stream.
Thank you, Rick, again. Peace be upon us all.